That's all that is on Sunday.
We did. Yeah.
Snatch a bunch of billboards.
It did.
You guys have anything? Oh, wow.
Come right across this. Billboard. Yeah, watch this.
Over there, the Home Depot place. Learn things.
It's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item will be roll call.
Brown,
Here.
Cox,
Here.
Fritz, Berkey,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Neil.
Here. Next will be a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Announce the visitors. We have Bemis and Danielle from Joint Communications. And I don't know your
Pat Thompson, I'm the CHB, the Secretary.
thank you. We'll move right to our presentation.
We'll do it now. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you for excusing me last meeting. So you would not hear me at all. I understand that you were sent the audit in your packets. And this year there was a change in the audit because of the funds that we received because of the CARES Act. And so we did a governmental audit, which included a single audit on those funds. When you look at the audit report itself, you will see that there was an increase in your net position of $1,323,011. If you look at your statement of revenues, expenses, and change in net position, you're going to notice that your operating loss, you have an operating loss this year. That would be on page 9 of the report. And I want to explain why you have an operating loss. When we do the audit, we look at only in operations, those funds which come from services or from other fees that you have. So your sales tax, your grants, sale of your equipment, anything like that is not considered operating. But yet your expenses that are associated with the funding and the running of your operation are considered operating expenses. So this is why you're historically going to have an operating loss, because so much of your funds are generated from sales tax. And we did have a sales tax increase this year. And thanks to that, we had another $167,000 over last year. We don't do comparative statements, but I think you'll see that your position this year is actually better than last year. Part of it is coming from the funds that we got from the government because of the CARES Act funds. But largely, if you look, we do have a better net position than we had last year. We were able to add some ambulances, and we were able to do some things. Overall, the report, when we look at the report, your report is an unqualified report, which means we found no material misstatements in the report. And we had absolutely no problem whatsoever in obtaining the information that was needed. Working with Jamie is a treat, to say the least. And for your information, the very first part of the audit report, you will see a section that is called Management Discussion and Analysis. This is actually prepared by Jamie. So you are very, very lucky to have someone that can do this for you and explain all of this to you. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions with regard to anything on the report, I'm available at CHV. You can call me at any time, or you can get my email address from Jamie, and you can email me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have with regard to the report. It was a pleasure working with you these last 3 years, and I enjoy working on the audit. If we are lucky enough to have the bid next year, I'm praying that we don't have a single audit again. So, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Action to approve the audit. Move on to public comment. Was there any sent in? Move on to officers report, chief's report.
Hello, everybody. You're not, but I took a little break last meeting, so good to see you all again. I believe my report starts on page 3. There's lots of charts and stuff in there, more than usual now. As normal, we'll start at the end, which is on page 6. The call volume report, really nothing dramatic to see on there. I don't want to use the word normal, but we're back down to typical, I'll say, call volume level for the month of September. We only had 2 status level 0 events up here, 5 in Windsor, so it wasn't a super busy month as far as bouncing back and forth and doing much coverage, but they still happen. 451 transports and 211 non-transports. So any questions on call volume there? Like I said, no real surprises. As you can see, flights, we did have 1 last month. We've already got 1 or 2 this month, but it's staying around that number. Calls and valid numbers have decreased over the years. You can see over the past couple of years, actually, we've been getting less and less of those, so that's good. And then the refusals are about where I expect them to be. So no surprises. We are doing a few more standbys now that the public's kind of getting a little more, coming out of their shells a little bit. As far as operations goes, we do have a new protocol in place for single responder standby events. This is something we get requested to do occasionally for minor impact, I'd say, events. Best example of that would be like a horse show or something to that effect, where we're only going to send 1 responder, a radio, and a jump bag out. If an ambulance is needed, they do initial assessment and treatment and call an ambulance in the scene. So we do have to have a protocol for that, of course, and now we have one in place, so just a verbal order for that. No major equipment changes. We have had some accidents. We had a deer strike on I-70. It was actually a dead deer that the unit it was at night. They just didn't see it in time and couldn't swerve it. And it managed to really mess up the exhaust system on there. So that work is currently being done. That same unit, I guess we're just beating up on unit 7. That same unit, we were coming into the first bay across the street where they have to pull in off Kentucky and then make a pretty sharp turnaround. At that point, the other crew member gets out and back them up. Unfortunately, this accident happened on that turn before they were actually backing, and they sideswiped another vehicle that was sitting in one of the parking lots. So I have an estimate for that right now. The damage to the ambulance is, again, it's just an estimate of $3,386, but we'll know more. I'll have some more information on that at the next meeting, I'm sure. Again, that was unit 7. I do have some maintenance and fuel costs, so you can see our cost per mile as far as maintenance goes. Not much on there. Just a couple notes. Unit 4, you can see it had a fuel tank and exhaust manifold. Those were 2 separate incidents. The fuel tank was punctured on scene of the call where it was in the driveway, and I guess they had the rail ties in the driveway, and it just caught the bottom of the tank. They hang kind of low, and I don't think there was any way to avoid it. and it talked about a pencil-sized hole in the bottom of the tank, so the tank needed to be replaced. The exhaust manifold, no idea what caused that leak, but it did need to be replaced on a separate occasion as well. Left front wheel bearing on unit 11, nothing major there, but that's the only other major change. So everything else did pretty good as far as mileage, nothing truly unexpected. We did have a rock take the windshield out of unit 11 that was way too big to repair, so you'll see it on next month's report. And probably the bills coming up pretty soon as we get it replaced. The mileage is on the next page. Nothing really pertinent there. You can see we've still got 2 in the yellow and 1 in the red. Of course, the red one's backline as well as one of the transits at the moment. We do have 1 EMT continuing on light duty. That individual will be on light duty probably through the end of the year, where they can get back in, before they can get back in. And we do have 1 paramedic that's still out on COVID extended absence. So we're starting to count that probably in months rather than weeks at this point. And I don't have any information else I can give you on that other than they're still not back at work. The building and grounds, we had some minor AC repair. That was a capacitor change. Our dryer vents are getting cleaned out. They are cleaned out. No major repairs. We are awaiting the bids for the 2 ramps in the easternmost bays. Sorry, the westernmost bays, door 1 and 2. We have not got those bids back yet, so I still don't have information on those. However, they did. I think I told the board last time I was here that the concrete cutting has been done, so we're just waiting on the door and ramp estimates on that. So hopefully we'll have some information here soon. Generator update, I believe, is that a agenda item? It's not? Okay, well, I actually have something to tell you about generator this time. Unfortunately, the problem we found was found to be on the gas end, and Ryan, correct me, feel free to jump in if I get any of this wrong. The gas line we have going to it carries quite a bit of pressure and has to be reduced. What they think happened, its best guess, is that air got into the gas line and caused an overpressure, which shut the valves, or shut the actuator, I guess is what it is, to the generator off, not allowing it to, it's just a safety mechanism so it doesn't burn up what it thinks it sees as an overabundance of fuel. The tech came down and looked at it and was nice enough to give us an emergency startup procedure so that all of the command staff now knows how to get the thing fired up should that ever happen. Again, that fail-safe ever kick in. Ryan was nice enough to make an excellent little pictorial directions for us so that we can get it back in service as soon as it goes out. And there's generally always someone at the station. So as far as any kind of remote alerting, I don't think that will help us. I don't think that it's going to get a tech here any sooner. And considering there's almost always someone in the house, we're not going to sit there for a long time without power if that happens. We do have UPS systems on computers and other things that will shut down in sequence, so we don't just completely go dark. But we've got a lot of safety mechanisms in place, and like I said, there's many of us now know how to get it restarted. The problem of the whole thing was, if you recall, when we put the generator in, we had a very long wait getting parts. The valve, should I say regulator or regulator, that goes in basically at the end of the line. It's such a prevalent issue. Cummins actually knows about that particular valve. It's not that it doesn't work, it's just finicky and shuts off easily. They're actually developing a workaround that will off-gas any excess pressure in the intake manifold and let it start up. So this is probably way too much information for everybody, but I just want you to know unfortunately that since it's not in the generator itself, generator's working fine, they were able to get it fired up without any issues at all. The problem is going to be waiting on that new valve or new regulator to come in, which we are awaiting information on. We're giving that part number to, I believe, Myers is tracking down a different piece for us to hopefully correct that problem. But like I said, we all know the fix for it now, and basically you just bleed off the excess pressure, like it manually started up shit happen. So it's always good to know how those things fire up anyway. So now we've got that extra tidbit. And thank you for Ryan putting all the work into it, giving us the nice clear directions that even I could understand. So I think I lost my place. Okay. On down to activities, like I said, we've been doing a lot more in the public lately. We are just participating in the downtown trunk or treat event. That's this coming Friday, I believe, downtown from 3 to 5 a.m. at the municipal building. Pretty much the whole downtown area participates in that. It's always a big success to get lots of kids and costumes, and it's always a good day. October 15th, we participated in the Smith Cotton Homecoming Parade. They had originally tapped one of our battalion chiefs who was unfortunately going to be out of town, so Mr. Pennington got recruited to go do that, and rode in the back of the truck on the day of the parade and had a good old time. As far as media relations, there's been a Democrat article called "Healthcare Workers Honored" at Smith Cotton Parade Grand Marshals. A couple quotes in there from Mr. Pennington. Get a chance to look that up. On our webpage, I've been trying to do this next year. We kind of had a problem on our shelves during COVID, but I really want to spend a lot of time next year doing some public information, education, and relations or peer work. And one of the ways I've started on that is kind of ramping up the website. I'm trying to put more resources on there for the public as well as staff. So even if somebody maybe doesn't work here anymore, they can still get into our website and actually look at some of the links. Most recently, Ryan put up a page for me. I sent him a whole slew of information. I believe I emailed out before, which included mental health resources for first responders. There's a lot of articles around that in the past couple of months with the anniversary of 9/11. We always think about the mental health of our staff, which is something I'm very passionate about. I want to make sure that they are taken care of and have the resources to deal with any issues they might have or people around them might have. So there's lots of neat resources on there, all the way, everything from financial to alcoholism, depression, you name it. There's all kinds of stuff that the American Ambulance Association has a webpage. I took a lot of those things off of them. So as we move along, I'll be putting things, additional items on the webpage. It's just a nice little resource we have, and that is pcad.us. Intergovernmental, I won't get into Pettis County Joint Communications because Danny's here tonight, but I will mention that our radios were fully switched over to the Mosman system about 2 weeks ago. As of today, about 2 weeks ago, and we've transitioned from alpha through echo call determinants or response determinants to a simpler priority 1 or priority 2 dispatch system. So it takes a lot less time to get to that priority 1 or priority 2 information. It's more simple. Basically what that translates to is lights and sirens or no lights and sirens. The Mosman system, as we've talked about here before, is the statewide interoperability network, and it's wonderful. The guys can Bruce can pull up at any hospital in the state pretty much and call in on scene, at destination, whatever, and we hear them like they're sitting next to us. So that's all been working very good. We've got a couple bugs on our end, just because we were on that bridge for so long. So we're getting used to the nice new stuff, but it seems to be working okay. I don't think Dan disagree with that.
No, it's
So far,
working.
so good.
It's working really well. We ran some reports last week that your board might be interested in. For the previous echo level responses, we have approximately a 41-second dispatch time.
Fantastic.
For everything else, it averages out to about 2 minutes to get through all of the questions to determine what the appropriate response level would be. But we are well under a 2.5 minutes average across all call types and across all response levels.
Excellent. And echo used to be, the only way you got echo was cardiac arrest or literally a person who's directly inside a fire or actually burning themselves. It was the worst of the worst.
The extreme life-threatening
Yes.
situations.
Yeah. All right. Task force info, that's just a running link in there for the next information. Education, we are doing an annual National Association BMT safety courses. That's a very involved, lots of classroom work, covers everything from ambulance safety to infection control to situational awareness to operational concerns. It's an excellent course we've put on several times for all of our crews. So I'm looking forward to that. Next month, I don't have a date on that at this point in time. EVOC is another one that kind of dovetails into the NAMT safety course. That's the emergency vehicle operations course. And you can see the dates for that are the 8th, 16th, and 18th. There's not always a driving component. It depends on whether or not basically we have the resources to do that. The last time I went out to the airport on the south end of the airport, and they allowed us to use their lot out there. There's usually somebody that will let us drive around and beat up on some orange cones if we need to. So I like having a driving component if possible, but sometimes the weather just doesn't cooperate. So GEMS is Geriatric Education for EMS, yet another acronym and certification that we have, but it focuses a lot on unique problems that our geriatric population has, and as everyone knows, our boomers are getting at retirement age and beyond right now. So geriatric calls are a very, very large portion of our clients. So we're doing a class on that, as well as some normal advanced cardiac life support in December. Again, dates are to be announced on those. I've already talked about the ramps and the bay doors. I don't have that information available because we just don't have the quotes yet. Nothing depending on employment, FMLA. We did get some health insurance information sent over just for the union's review, so they could take a look at it and see what we were kind of see the information that we had so far. No promotion, demotion, status changes, anything like that. That's pretty much the end of my report.
Are there any questions for Eric?
I just have a couple.
Sure.
So on the education part, who keeps track of their certifications that are required and their license renewals?
That is Division Chief of Training, Justin Cross. That's my old job. Yeah, he does an amazing job at it. Takes a lot of caffeine to keep him going. He does very well at that. In fact, one of the things he's busiest with right now, and why I don't have some dates on those, is because this time of year, people have to start putting in all of their continuing education units in so that we can all relicense. And he does a fantastic job of keeping everybody on top of that and not waiting until the last minute to get everything.
Is that a manual process for him, or is there?
Pretty
software?
much, yeah. The state has a new system that allows us to digitally enter them, but we can't just send them a spreadsheet like we used to be able to. We have to enter every single class individually into the system. It's pretty tedious, so he spends a lot of time staring at his computer this month and the next month. So, yeah.
And then the other question I have is on your long haul COVID and your work comp person. I might have asked this before, but how are we covering those spots? Was that with the PRNs or overtime or?
Both, yeah, PRN, overtime. So that's, this is a full-time position that is missing right now. Unfortunately, I'm trying to think how long. Two of them right now. Okay. But yes, it's a little bit of both. We don't have a very robust PRN paramedic staff right now, unfortunately. So they generally are covered either with an overtime shift or the truck just stays open.
Are there any other questions? Not we'll move on to CFO report.
And that is just the insurance, health insurance renewal information. You can see there that United Healthcare came back with a 4% increase. When we met with the representatives from Mike Keith, they said the average was 14%, so I felt like we did top the 4% number. The rest of the coverages, dental, life, vision, were all locked in till 2022, and some of them till 2023. So those are the same as this year. Any questions on any of that? Like Eric said, we gave that to the union and we'll start negotiations next month. So
4% is.
I was very happy with 4%. Last year, I think it was
Yeah.
90% increase. So that's what it started at. So
Although the CPI for health care is less than 1%. So still.
So yesterday it was announced that our inflation factor for CMS is 5.1%, but we'll probably lose that sequestration, so it'll actually just be about a 3% increase for Medicare. All right, page 14 is the budget performance, the summary, January to September.
Same story I told you every month for the last 3 months, I think, as far as revenues up about 11%. Overall expenses are just barely under budget at 99.31% of our year-to-date budget. So that's looking pretty good, and I highlighted the same items that have been highlighted here as far as being close to over budget or over budget, building maintenance, communications, and employee. And they're staying right about the same percentage. So, any questions on that? Pages 15 through 18 details of the budget performance, and I've got that percentage there compared to the annual budget. So we should be about 75%. Still at the annual budget, about 11% over where we should be. You can see some details here, ambulance and vehicle fuel. Still been over budget, that's just due to the increased costs. Again, building maintenance. Insurance is under budget, actually, or health insurance, and then benefits is under budget. About 10%, so we pay that a month in advance. And overall, still just slightly over budget on expenses at 77.38%. Any questions on any of that? Page 19 is our capital expenses year to date as of 9/30. Still waiting on the same couple of items, so windows in the bay and the DVR upgrade. Did you get a response on that?
I know the metal for the windows has been ordered, and as soon as it's in, they'll be ordering the rest of the stuff. But once that happens, once the metal comes in, it should only be about 3 weeks is our estimate. So it's not the on origin day type situation. So hopefully, as soon as that comes in.
Page 20 is our balance sheet previous year comparison. You can see that increase in the fund balance that Pat was talking about on the unrestricted net assets. Down at the bottom, it's 1.3 million. Page 21 is our profit and loss previous year comparison. I thought this was kind of interesting because we've gotten to the point where we received that CARES money last year. And overall, even without that extra almost $1.2 million of CARES funds, our revenue is just 200,000 less than it was last year. So to me, that shows that our loss, we did have a loss of revenue due to lower call volumes last year. So, and as well on the sales tax. So, any questions on that? I gave you guys a new updated sheet on the profit and loss by class. I have failed to add the allocations down at the bottom for the calls. Pettis call ran from Windsor, and then also adding that for the market value of facilities. So at the end of September, it's just right at $1,800. No, I can't talk. $1,870.62 as far as our year-to-date allocation for Windsor. Any questions on that? And on the back is kind of breakdown of how that came about. So we had 163 calls running in from Windsor that were Pettis calls out of the 500. Any questions on any of that? Page 23 is our bank balances as of the 21st versus the 7th. And then our normal ebb and flow every month. And then below that is the year-over-year comparison. And you'll see we're back to our dollar change is about 718,000. Page 24 is our cash reserve analysis. That went up about 2 weeks over last meeting. So we're sitting right now at 8.25 months in our cash reserve. Page 25 and 26 is the check register. Any questions on those transactions? On to bills. Page 27 is the summary of bills currently, and then the details are on pages 28 through 30. Any questions on any of those bills? Well, that is the end of my.
Any questions? If they're not, then take a motion to approve payment of outstanding bills. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Medical Director's report.
Kind of dovetailing on your question about filling, backfilling that vacancy throughout our entire region, because of personnel shortages. When agencies are calling for their PRN people to come and help fill a slot, they're working at their home agency and unable to do any PRN work, or they're so tired from their home agency that they just say thanks, but no thanks. So it's a regional issue with these situations. It's not just isolated to our problem here. Recently, Bothwell has taken to supplying us with follow-up information on patients that we bring them, outcome information, and it even has included, if they had to then transfer the patient like to the university, we're even getting information on what happened to those patients at the university. So our folks are able to see the outcome and what happened. Some particular cases, like especially with falls or injuries, we were able to see there was a couple of cases where the patient didn't appear to be injured that severely, but one case in particular, after the fall, he had a head bleeding, and so he was sent to the university and did okay. Didn't cause his demise or anything, but it just is so helpful for us to have that follow-up information. So it really means a lot to our folks to be able to see the outcome on these people. Strokes, heart attacks, traumas, or the ones that we thought were injured pretty significantly turned out not to be. But that's not that you want to take the next one with a grain of salt, but being able to see the variation and heightening our awareness of what things that we need to be looking for. So I'm really appreciative of how that. In fact, we get more information back through Bothwell on the university patients than the ones we take there directly. So maybe we should take them all to Bothwell first. But anyway, I'm just really happy to see that, and I hope that can continue. I hope there's not a personnel issue at Bothwell that interrupts that, but we very much appreciate that information. So, any other questions for me? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unfinished business, annual claim review.
I asked about that last week and I have not gotten a response yet, so. We have a meeting here in 2 weeks.
So we'll have more information at the next meeting, probably.
I hope so, yes.
Those county joint communications.
All right. It is the annual budget presentation. The first thing I want to show is the revenues that we've generated this year. The surprise here is the prepaid tax. A prepaid tax exists on all prepaid cell phone minutes purchased. That sits at 3.6% of the purchase. We receive 50% of the amount collected. The other 50% goes to the Department of Revenue. While the budget line item was originally forecasted at $40,000 for the year, we've collected $80,436. So it's produced 200% this year, which was surprising. The budget line item for the any device fee, which is $1 attached to any device by a postpaid account that is directly tied to Pettis County. We received 100% of those funds, was originally forecasted at $400,000 annually to date. Through the close of September, it's collected $332,729. And it is currently on track and forecasted to close the year at $437,000 and some change. So it's producing very well. The revenues from Pcad and the city of Sedalia are going to close the year just under budgeted amounts due to delay in merger between the three entities involved. And the Pettis County funds are producing at the budgeted amount of $200,000. Any questions on the revenues?
So the received is actual through what month again?
September 30th. With the exception of Pcad and the city of Sedalia, that is a fixed contract amount. That's what I will receive through the end of the year.
If I could point out that 400 and 332 comparison, that was I hate to say guesstimate.
It was a
But
guesstimate.
they have very little information to go off of. It's really hard to collect that information. It's really hard to do, but I was really impressed that it came out that close.
And it has been very sporadic in reporting. 1 month, I will receive $20,000. The next month, I will receive $80,000. So it's been very, very sporadic. Agencies across the state that subscribe to the any device fee have all reported those same trends, being inconsistent in the funding trickling down to us. There's the possibility that there are some errors in reporting, just conversations that we're having within the industry, and pinpointing how that is going to be identified and corrected.
I'm unsure what any device is.
Okay, the any device is a $1 per device for a postpaid account. For example, I have a postpaid account with T-Mobile. I have 3 devices on my account, one for myself, one for each of my daughters. My monthly bill will have a tax of $3 on that.
Okay, so it's on cell phones.
Any device, if you have tablets, some smartwatches, if you have them subscribed to a specific data line, that you can make a phone call that is not a Bluetooth phone call from your watch. Could
That's
also.
why I don't know what those are.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if I use a smartwatch, and if I had a data line on my smartwatch where I did not have to be connected to my phone, I would have $4 on my bill instead of $3.
That's just for Pettis.
That is just for Pettis County.
A lot of devices out there.
The $400,000 was a guesstimate based upon county population and an estimate that every adult would have 2 devices on the postpaid plan. So,
My card phone bill is
password. Whatever, voice over internet. Or so we have it out on every phone. We have here too, so.
So landline, what?
Well,
Actually, no, we do not, yeah, we do not have a tax on landline services. And the reason why we do not have a tax on landline services is because the subscribers that are actually using that method of communication has dwindled to the point where within the last 60 days, I have received a total of 42 calls from landlines, from a traditional connected to the wall. That's what I received. And the tax that was on the landline, I don't want to guess what percentage it was, but the last collected revenues, the last budget line item that I've been able to identify within historical budgets only produced $1,000. And there's no way that a landline tax would support what we have to do. So a significant issue within our industry is staffing, along with all of the other public safety entities within the area. The information that I've collected here, obviously the starting wages for McDonald's, Wendy's, Walmart, Black & Decker, local employers to Pettis County. That is my competition for Pettis County employee pools. They have a starting wage of $12 an hour, except for Black & Decker, $12.57. All of that information is pulled off of Indeed. The Saline County E911 Center for someone with no experience, straight off the street, starting wage $13.25. Johnson County $14.25. Benton County is estimated to be at $14.50 going into the 2022 year. So right now, as it sits today in 2021, the starting wage for Pettis County is $14.27 an hour. And that is not competitive with our local competitors for the employee pool. It is not on track with the national or Missouri averages for a 911 operator. The Missouri average for a 911 operator is $19 an hour. That is for someone with no experience walking in the door. The national average is $18.24. Obviously, that is going to include both ends of the spectrum. That's going to include the lower and the top ends of that. It's going to include Kansas City, St. Louis, and a lot of fourth-class counties. Within the budget that we're getting ready to review, I have requested a 75-cent raise across the board for all of my operators. That 75-cent raise will bring us up to the $15.02 projected here, which will make us competitive within our industry, will make us competitive in Pettis County to be more attractive to the employee pool that we're pulling from. The 75-cent amount was calculated based upon a 3% of the average wage of all employees that we currently have employed, as well as the open positions with an average starting using the $14.27 as their wage. So even at 3%, that wouldn't keep up with the cost of inflation. Something to note is that Pettis County has a population of 42,339 people from our last census, and we serve 868 square miles. Pettis County Joint Communications has opted to go with a triple discipline protocol approach to our emergency dispatching services, which means that we use protocols identified and defined by the International Academy of Emergency Dispatchers. We use those for fire, law, and EMS. None of the counties up here, Saline, Johnson, Benton, use the triple discipline approach. So even if I stay at $14.27, I'm expecting more out of my operators than any of my local competitors within the industry for a lower wage. Using the triple discipline approach, It has been proven by the International Academy that we can reduce liability and provide better customer service as well as public safety response to our customer base. The triple discipline approach, the closest agency to us that uses all three disciplines is Boone County. Boone County has a starting wage of $16.84 off the street. They have near the same square footage of the service area that we are providing. Obviously, their population is more than ours because they do have the college that they're working with there. So it would be my opinion that the 1502 is a reasonable starting wage going into 2022. It would make the position far more attractive to the employee pool that we're attempting to pull from. I have had multiple interviews with people where they have asked, why can't you pay $17? Because I can go to Tyson's and I can make $17. I have had multiple interviews with people who meet all of our qualifications. And they told me they can't take my job if it doesn't pay $15 an hour because they can't pay their bills for it. Even though they're interested in the service, they're interested in the industry, I can't afford them. So while I'm requesting a 75-cent raise across my board, I have reduced 3 positions to part-time positions by county policy. I can work a part-time employee 1,000 hours per calendar year. That's not defined per pay period. It is not defined per month. It is 1,000 hours per year. Basically, I'm creating 3 PRN positions. Since I have started advertising those PRN positions, I have had multiple operators from other agencies or operators who have left the industry because it couldn't pay what they needed to support their family, approach me and ask me how to get into those PRN positions. So this could be a staffing solution for us in the future. While the salary expense this year is $647,000. That's actually a decrease from the 2021 budget of approximately $66,000 because we have converted those 3 positions to part-time positions. You'll notice that we do offer a shift differential. I have requested in my budget to increase the shift differential from 25 cents to 75 cents. And the reason for that is there are counties neighboring us that are offering $1 shift differential. A shift differential would be eligible for anyone assigned to begin any shift after 6 p.m. for a period of 30 days or more. So the random person who's going to cover night shift because someone has to have the night off would not necessarily qualify for the shift differential. Our loggers this year was calculated at 12.5% and SURF at 4%. Our medical insurance remains the same as 2021 at $636.30 per person. We were able to hold the cost of the medical insurance stable from last year because the employee is going to be absorbing the increase in that. While the employee is absorbing the increase in the medical insurance, the county is offering a HSA for 2022, and we are going to be depositing funds into that account from county revenues to help offset that and make it more attractive. We are also offering a basic life insurance policy for all employees this year at $775 per person, bringing our benefit total to $268,889, and a total line item for wages and benefits of $916,288. With public safety, specifically 911, at this point in the bill for Pettis County Joint Communications, our wages and benefits are going to be the largest line item within our budget. Our office supplies and purchase of new equipment have decreased from 2021. Office supplies are decreasing due to the fact that I have begun the project of moving the agency into a paperless state. The paper usage for the Joint Communication Center was on track to spend $2,000 per year just in paper, due to the large amount of warrant entries and criminal justice related information that we print. Moving the bills to a paperless state is going to save that. We'll be able to reduce that in office supplies. The purchase of new equipment is down drastically from 2021 because we have already bought everything that we needed to buy. However, the new equipment for 2022, I've got another slide here. Yeah. The new equipment for 2022 includes a screen recording service. The screen recording service is going to be used as a training tool so that we can monitor how our operators are actually navigating the protocols. And are they selecting the appropriate protocol? And are they navigating to the appropriate tools to identify if someone is breathing? Are they using the tools to go through the stroke diagnostic tools and for the CPR compressions and counters? Without having someone having eyes on each and every operator for the duration of their shift, we are unable to identify if there are any deficits in the actual usage of the protocols. We can configure the screen recordings to start recording on 911 call. So as soon as the phone rings, the screen recordings begin and I can watch my operators and see how they're navigating. And we can help streamline the process to get from call intake to dispatch point faster. I'm also requesting 2 base stations this year. I will also be requesting 2 base stations for 2023. The base station is the wireless headset component that connects the telephone, radio, and gives the operator mobility to move within the center. The reason why I'm requesting 2 this year and 2 next year is because 4 of the base stations that we're currently using within the center were 4 brought over from the Sedalia PD dispatch site whenever we merged, and they were aged and dated then. They are going to fail. Our telephone expenditures is significantly higher than what it was in 2021. The difference in the line items would be because the mules and data connections were not accounted for in the original budget. 2 very significant items that were just overlooked. Mules is the Missouri Uniform Law Enforcement System, which is required for our criminal justice functions. The actual mules connection costs approximately $7,000 per year. However, due to our proximity with the Sedalia Police Department, we've been able to enter into a shared agreement that has been approved by the Highway Patrol. And we are now splitting the cost between the 2 agencies. There's not a lot of agencies that get to benefit from that within the state, so we are very fortunate to be able to hold that down because it is a taxpayer expense. The data line, the fiber line, is a required component, and it was just overlooked in the original budget. Contractual services includes our physical lease agreement with the city of Sedalia. The Wood in Houston lease agreement referenced within the budget is for the radio console project. We had to receive funds from Wood in Houston that we are paying back $115,000 and some change annually to provide the brand new radio consoles that were installed in 2020. We also spend $6,000 beginning in 2022 for a medical director. We are very fortunate that Dr. Gus has agreed to be the medical director for Joint Communications. Having the doc for Joint Communications, Pcad, and fire has eliminated a lot of confusion, I think, because we're all on the same page, we're all using the same definitions. The Nixle line item is a new line item that was overlooked from the 2021 budget. Everyone as Pettis County residents should be familiar with Nixle. This is a shared agreement with the Pettis County Sheriff's Office, and we're able to bring that in under budget at under what they would normally cost people at $1,500. The Nixle service itself, if I were to obtain my own agency, my own account would be $7,000 minimum annually. So we are able to save money in various places by leveraging our relationships with other agencies. Any questions over telephone services, contractual services, or new equipment? One thing I do want to point out, I did build in a 5% overage into contractual services. Because we did discover during the 2021 build that not everything comes in exactly the way it's forecasted. The 2021 budget was budgeted down to the penny for each and every line item. And there are several components to the build that are still considered in the build state. Just a second. So the 2022 budget that I am proposing, which would include the wage increase, new equipment, contractual services, everything that we've just discussed, has a total expenditure of 1.2 and some change. With the forecasted revenues for 2022, I am increasing the any device fee to $405,000. I am increasing the prepaid tax to $50,000. While both are on track to perform well over that, I'm hesitant to forecast any higher than that because it is an unknown. We only have 12 months of history with those two revenue streams, and I don't know if I trust it yet. Leaving the government contributions of Pettis County, the city of Sedalia, and the ambulance district the same as 2021. We have a government total of 1.1. We're carrying over a balance forward from 2021 into 2022 of $293,000. And with the expenditures as presented, revenues only increasing the any device fee as well as the statewide prepaid tax, will have a balance forward into 2023 of $149,851. Any questions about that?
So how many employees do you have?
How many are we slotted for? How many do we have at the moment?
How many solid?
18. That does not include me.
And how many do you have?
12. Let's step into the roster. The concern comes in the 2023 projected budget. These are very rough numbers. Using the proposed 2022 budget as a baseline, I increased wages for 2023 by 1.5%. Again, not keeping up with inflation. Left part-time salaries the same, shift differential the same, there's no change in that. I increased medical insurance by 6%. Telephone data by 5%, giving us an expenditure of 1.2. If the revenues remain the same for 2023 at 405 for any device, 50,000 for prepaid, and government contributions remain the same, providing 1.1, including the rollover from 2022 of 149,000, that leaves with a negative balance at the end of 2023 of $8,616. That would force us to come back and request a increase of government contributions in 2023. Completely hypothetical. Hypothetically, if we are able to increase the any device fee to 410 for 2023, statewide to 60, increase the government's contributions by $15,000 per agency. That would leave us with a positive rollover at the end of 2023 of $81,383. I bring this to your attention now so that if there's an issue, we can start looking at it and figure out a plan. Questions? I am not asking for any additional money today. Yes, sir.
I know it's a placeholder for federal 911 grant in several spots, including just a zero sum. But, you know, eyes on anything.
Actually, I do. I had brought it up at a board meeting yet.
Well, that's keep going.
No, it's perfectly fine because this is a great opportunity to do that. There is industry discussion that there's the possibility of $8 million be opened up to the state of Missouri in 2022 for 911 for next gen services. For those of you who are unfamiliar with next gen 911, it is moving all of 911 to a digital platform. We have not moved to next gen 911 in its entirety. We are in a transitional stage to that. It will become a requirement at some point. We are transitional right now. If the grant funding opens up, I have identified a project that will actually bring our agency to next gen compliance and save money at the same time. We can save money at the same time because wrong one. All right, the 911 trunk lines and under telephone services. The 911 trunk lines that we use are a traditional copper camel line, the old landline services. That is a 911 dedicated trunk. It's very old, very dated technology. So with the next gen 911 services, what we're going to be doing is moving from the copper camel lines to basically the VoIP system. We can save money here. Not a lot of people can say this. Okay, we can save money here because of how much our camo trunks cost. Our camo trunks cost so much because of where we are physically located and the infrastructure within the AT&T system. All 911 trunks in the state of Missouri are provided by AT&T. Now, we have all kinds of transfers that occur in the background of a 911 call. We actually have to transfer all the way to Springfield. It bounces to Texas, and then it comes back to here. I have no control over that. For every transfer point, they charge us money. 1 month of a 911 line is $3,753. That's a lot. So going to the VoIP services and using a data dip out of Kansas City and St. Louis, providing the redundancy within the system, the providers that I have started shopping those services around to actually price point by population. On the high end of that, it's 9 cents per person, which actually is $400 a month cheaper than the traditional copper cable lines. We haven't moved to that service yet because all of the providers of that service require a 1 year upfront payment of service. I don't have $245,000 to give them right now. And that's what they charge to build our system for us. So if they open up the grant cycle, it will be identified for next gen services. So the project will align with the project, with the grant scope, and then we can proceed with the next gen move for the I3 system. What we can do at that point, because we would be the first here, it's going to become a federal mandate. It will. Johnson County can latch on to the network that we create. It pushes our price down. If Benton County wants to latch onto it, it pushes our price down. What's important about a I3 system is that whenever a 911 call is placed in an I3 system, it is transmitted with voice and data, meaning that we receive both at the same time. We eliminate the dip into Texas to find the location information. It speeds up the call processing time. We receive better information, and it's cheaper. It also opens up the opportunity to start working with text to 911 and video by 911, if that's something that we want to look at in the future. But we are not there yet.
Thanks.
Excellent. I didn't mean to monopolize. No, I didn't mean to take up so much time. Any questions? At this time, I would ask for you to consider it, and whether or not you would recommend. If you do not recommend, I'll go back to the drawing board. What do you say?
Yeah, I think, I'm trying to think how many new board members we have since last time we voted on this. Probably just the two, yeah. So the board.
Okay.
The process for that is, in case you guys are unaware, we approve it. Excuse me, you guys approve it. The other agencies approve it, and then, yeah, it takes it to.
Right. And that's the reason why we start this now is the county budget cycle runs calendar year. And I will be on track to present my budget to the county commission in November. I am calendared for the city of Sedalia for November 1st. So before I can take anything to the county commission, I'm it's to come talk to everybody that is providing funds. Everyone likes to know how they're spending their money.
So it's 75 cents, you're gonna leave keeping up with minimum wage.
No. No,
Need a motion? Well, I move that we approve the 100,000 again.
We just need a motion to approve your budget.
is that right?
Approve the preliminary. budget.
Preliminary. Yeah, I think that's a better phrasing for it.
So we're just approving our funding, basically.
Well, we're approving the budget, which justifies the funding.
Yeah, the contract reads that we have to, that the Pettis County Assistant Board of Directors has to review and approve per budget expenditures.
That we approve the preliminary budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Can I ask how much the budget that just was approved, how much was that request?
From Pcad,
Or
the total that Pettis County, if you're okay. The total of Pettis County ambulance pays out over the years, $150,000. Total
that's
budget.
joint
To joint communications, and it's invoiced on a monthly basis.
on a monthly basis? 150,000
For Pettis County.
for
Yes,
Pettis
and
County.
just for the ambulance district, yes.
And it's different for the other agencies
Right.
because of all.
And that's the same last
Yes, yes, no increase over last year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
year. Thank you.
Appreciate what you do.
I believe I skipped over confirming previous meetings minutes. Let's take a chance for that with offices. If there's no additions or corrections, they'll stand approved as presented. Take a motion to go into closed session pursuant to RSMo 610.021, section 1 and 2.
So moved.
That'll be roll call.
Brown,
Here.
Hawk,
Here.